I find someone who has, and let's say the seller wants $10,000. So I'm going to find someone who has at least $10,000, preferably more, because whatever the overage is on that $10,000, I'm going to get in my pocket. So I find someone that has $10,000. Let's say worst case scenario, all they have is $10,000. I then go back and renegotiate with the seller. Hey, guess what, seller? I'll pay you $5,000 today, and I'll pay you another $5,000 in 12 months, or however we work that out. Would they take a deferred down payment, basically? And we negotiate that way. If that's all I was able to work with, was just, hey, I got $5,000 buyer or $10,000 buyer, it's all I can do. And then I go back to the seller and I either negotiate with the seller to do a deferred down payment, or I just suck it up and say, hey, you know what? This is a sweet enough deal. I'm gonna take the cash flow. I don't need the down payment. We're good. Okay, so what's up, Bootstrappers? This is Ryan Nickel coming at you. I literally just got this text, and I just did a training this morning on deal finding, and this question came up as well. So I figured, you know what, might as well make a video about this. And the question is, how do I find private money to fund my deals, especially seller finance transactions? And no, actually, it didn't come on that question did not come up on the deal finding training this morning. Where did that come from? Someone else asked me that question as well. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to answer it anyway. So yes, the question was basically, can I use private funding? So the question was, how do I fund my deals? Well, what I do is I buy properties, I take them over subject to, I take over the existing debt. And then what I do is I find someone who wants to move into those properties and basically be a rent-to-own buyer. They got some money to put down. They're going to put some money in my pocket, and so I'm going to buy it for X, let's say $100,000, and I'm going to sell it to them for, say, $120,000. So I'm going to make a little bit of a premium on it, and let's say my monthly payment's $1,000. I'm going to charge them $1,250. So I'm going to be making $20,000 profit on the spread and $250 a month until they either pay it off or whatever the thing is. And so I find someone who has, and let's say the seller wants $10,000. So I'm going to find someone who has at least $10,000, preferably more, because whatever the overage is on that $10,000, I'm going to get in my pocket. So I find someone that has $10,000. Let's say worst case scenario, all they have is $10,000. I then go back and renegotiate with the seller. Hey, guess what, seller? I'll pay you $5,000 today, and I'll pay you another $5,000 in 12 months, or however we work that out. Would they take a deferred down payment, basically? And we negotiate that way. If that's all I was able to work with, was just, hey, I got $5,000 buyer or $10,000 buyer, it's all I can do. And then I go back to the seller and I either negotiate with the seller to do a deferred down payment, or I just suck it up and say, hey, you know what? This is a sweet enough deal. I'm gonna take the cash flow. I don't need the down payment. We're good. And go forward that way. So that's one way that you do it. But ideally, I want to find someone who has more than that. So when I'm selling my property seller finance, again, in this specific example, it's $120,000. So I'm looking for someone with at least 10% down. So that's $12,000. So I'm looking for at least a minimum of $2,000 spread there. And so that's where the money comes from, to fund these transactions, to fund the down payment, to fund whatever. And that's how I do it. Ideally, if someone had like, hey, I got $20,000, well, guess what? They just cashed my equity position out completely. And I bought it for $100,000, but say that the seller had, actually not my equity position, no, because I'm selling it for $120, but the seller wanted 10. So that means I'm into it for 90. So they give me 20, so they still owe me 100,000. I owe 90, and we're off and going to the races. So that's how that works. When I find someone to fund it for me. Now, can I find somebody else? And this is a simple answer. Yes, you can. Start asking friends and family. So one of my very first transactions that I got into when I was using private money, I asked a buddy of mine, I said, hey man, I got this really sweet deal coming up. This is my track record. This is what's been going on. And he's already seen that as well. Like, I put a lot of it out there in public in social media, and he's like, dude, I see what you're doing. You're crushing it. Teach me how to do it. And I'm like, do you have the time? He's like, no, I don't. And I'm like, okay, cool. So anyway, I found this opportunity. He loaned me $10,000 for 12 months. I paid him interest only on the $12,000. It was like $86 a month, something like that, $83 a month for a whole entire year. So he did really good on that. I turned that $10,000 into, it was just under $80,000. So I found a deal, sweet deal, put the money into it, and away I went. And it turned out to be a great opportunity for me. Like I said, it was just under 80. It's like $78,000 that I walked away with cash in pocket when it was all said and done. And so yeah, friends and family, that's my first place that I would go to. Excuse me. Second opportunity, if I didn't have friends and family, they had deep pockets, or at least $10,000 at the time when I needed it, I would find someone to partner with. I got a guy right now asking me for a deal. He said, hey man, I got money in the sidelines. I want a deal. And I told him about this property. I said, hey, this is the situation. This is what's happening with this particular property. This is the details. And he goes, I'll do that with you. I'll partner with you on that. We'll split the equity 50-50. And so he's going to come to the table with all of the money that was needed for this particular deal. This is a long-term play, by the way. This was a negative cash flow situation where the cash flow would be negative about $600 a month for a minimum of 3 years. Could be less than that, but the likelihood is probably a minimum of 3 years, be 3 to 5 year play. But there's a ton of equity in this property. He's like, I'll do that. He's like, I'll get the upfront money to make it happen, and I will also get into it with you on the negative cash flow side, and I'll fund the negative cash flow because the upside is so huge. And so for me, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I'm not like, this is not a deal that I'm going to do, but I found it and I structured it that way, and that was the best that we could come up with. That kind of negative cash flow, but like I said, the upside on it is so huge. So I found a partner. So there's a lot of different ways for you guys to do this. You just got to get creative about it. That's the whole thing. You know, if you're struggling to come up with ideas and you're interested in, I have a deep dive into seller financing that I do every single month. It's a Q&A. It's about 2.5 hours, and I answer a lot of your questions. A lot of these questions get answered with multiple examples. Some of them actually don't. Actually, private money is not one of them that we actually really cover, other than the fact that you got to find someone to fund these deals for you. But with that in mind, if you're interested, I'll put the link in the description below, and join us for it. It's up front. It's very limited. I limit the room to 10 people only. That way I can make sure that all your questions are answered. We don't go for 9 hours. No one wants to do that. And if by the end of the 2.5 hours you're like, man, this was a waste of my time, I already knew this stuff, or you didn't teach me anything new, Ryan, hey man, no harm, no foul. I'm glad you came. I'm glad you participated. I'll gladly refund your money. Because it's not about the money. It's about you taking action and reserving your spot and not taking that away from somebody else. So again, if you come and you realize it wasn't for you, hey, then it wasn't for you. That's okay. We'll go ahead and refund your money. If it was for you, well then of course, great. We're glad that you got value from it, and we'll invite you to play at a higher level as well. But I'm telling you, this is the opportunity right now. The market is changing. I just locked up 2 deals and getting ready to lock up a few more, all because seller financing is my go-to mojo. That's how I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing. And I'm still buying other properties. I am doing some flips, and I'm wholesaling some properties as well. But my main grab and go as far as funding sources is going to be the person that's going to be buying it from me. But I'm going to have these properties first on using seller financing techniques. I'm going to be able to take these properties, tie them up, do what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to just wedge myself in the middle there, and I'm going to collect the cash flow monthly. And that's how I fund my lifestyle, and that's what I do. So down payment money goes right into Hip Pocket National Bank right here. Actually, speaking of down payment money, this is actually not down payment money, actually. This is rent money. I think I got about $4,800 here between all of this stuff. So anyway, nice little flex there on you, because I'm actually going to go drop this money off into the bank. So if you're interested, guys, love to help you out. If not, hey, thanks for watching. Just remember, all it takes is one deal to change your entire financial future, just one. And the reason why I do this, some people ask me this as well, why am I doing this? Honestly, the real reason why I do what I do as far as giving back, I don't have to do this. This is something I enjoy doing. This is something that I want to do. Is I want to see families across America be able to raise themselves financially out of the situations that they're in. I started this thing when I was on food stamps. I was struggling as a dad to be able to pay bills for my family. And I have 5 beautiful kids and a beautiful wife, and I want to be able to give them the life that they want. And I also want to be able to spend time with them. And it all started with one deal. That one deal changed my entire life. It changed my mindset, changed everything for me, gave me the courage and the possibility to see what was available. Like what was available to me and able to do this. Hey, my beautiful wife's here. Talking about beautiful wives. Actually, I only got one. This
that we know
thing
of.
right here. Yeah, I know. So anyway, this is why I do what we do. So see y'all later.